I really appreciate you coming back after the first time that we talked.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's so significant that your dad was really the only Carlisle Indian School student that we know of who stayed here.
I see.
You know, Dick Cassetta stayed here, but he wasn't really a student at Carlisle.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that before?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was adopted, right?
He was.
Yeah.
He was adopted, and he was a baby who was born to an Indian school student who in the Philadelphia area. And so he ended up being adopted here because he was brought here.
Well, how old was he? 5?
He was 5 when he was adopted.
Uh-huh.
His mother died in a sanitarium kind of home of tuberculosis.
Uh-huh. Oh.
And she had been a student at the school from the time she was about 9 or 10, I believe.
Oh.
And she was there for about almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she was on outing. You know, she was sent out all the time.
Right.
So, but some of those kids really were much older when they came to Carlisle. I don't remember. Tim was mentioning that Dickinson College digitization site. You know, you can go online through your computer now and get information about Carlisle students.
Yeah.
Did he tell you about that?
Oh, yeah.
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 But the last time I checked, I think they were A through L. They didn't
Well-
get to the end of the alphabet. But I know they do this, that they don't have, it's not a full semester.
Right.
They were down there in the summer. I
That's
know
what
that,
they're
this past
doing.
summer.
And they haven't put Monty's up yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that Monty? Is that
Montreville.
Montreville?
Yes.
Did you hear him called Monty though? He shows.
Well, that's our one brother's name.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
They called him Monty.
They did. Yeah. Well, it has not. His folder has not yet been scanned and uploaded.
Uh-huh.
So it will probably be in one of the next batches coming up. It wasn't as of yesterday because I had checked
Did you
again.
check yesterday?
I've been checking over and over because I wanted to find things in his student record that might be, you know, might trigger something or might.
Well, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Yeah. But I had an interesting group of Apache people here 2 weeks ago.
They were the ones, the pictures in the Sentinel, they were the ones who visited the cemetery.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Why do you say that in quotes?
It's a hoax.
You don't think that it's
Well,
where-
the remains aren't at those stones.
Right. You know about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I one summer I worked at the War College.
Oh,
Landscaping. Roads and grounds, basically.
yeah.
And there was an old fellow there who had told me the story about how that cemetery was actually made. And they just dug a big hole,
Okay.
and then they went over to the then cemetery, and I think that was around Indian Field somewhere.
Yeah.
And then they dug up all the bones and bodies and loaded it on dump trucks and dumped everything in the hole and smoothed it over and made the stones look real fancy. That's his recollection of the story. I haven't heard any other version of it. So
That is really very incredible and interesting because when I worked with Jackie Fair-Siegel on the cemetery, we were trying to determine if all the remains were moved from the original cemetery to the cemetery, the current cemetery.
we're talking about the cemetery down on Claremont Road.
Oh, yeah.
And that-
Were you
that-
living in Carlisle when they moved that, when they did that? When they moved the remains? That would have been around
When was that?
1930.
Pardon?
1930 it would have been.
Oh, yes.
So you would have been born, but you were pretty young.
January 25th, 24.
Yeah, you were little.
I was 6 years old, but
Yeah.
between 5 and 6.
Do you recall anything about that cemetery?
Pardon?
When they constructed that cemetery?
No.
Well, you have just unearthed a real mystery for us with this story.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we discovered when we compared the names from the original cemetery to the new cemetery, there are 2 stones for the same child on opposite sides of the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
So we suspected exactly what you're saying. We suspected that they must have dug trenches or something,
Yeah, more or less
or
a mass
maybe just
burial
one
type
mound.
thing. Right.
So he thinks it's just one mound, like one mass hole.
Right.
So we don't really know exactly where that is.
And he's long gone. His name was Joe Tackett.
Joe Tackett?
Yes.
Was he related to Spotted Tail?
Oh no, I don't. I really don't know any history of him. Now I know
wow.
he was from the Newville area when he worked in post, and he was getting ready to retire when I worked there. Now this is probably early 70s, 71, 1970,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Do you know if he had a daughter about our age?
I can't. I don't.
You
I
don't
don't. I
know.
don't really know any other
Okay.
details other than that's what. And he always wore a coonskin cap.
Wow.
Yeah, in the winter.
So that confirms our suspicion about,
About that cemetery proper, right?
right. But it's a little more unsettling
Oh, definitely so. Definitely so.
than than the digging trenches.
Right.
There's something about a mound that I suppose. How would you determine where the remains are? Maybe I wonder if they can do some kind of infrared or
Who knows
X-rays.
at this point?
Yeah.
And if it was done in the 30s, I wasn't sure when it was done.
So do you ever visit that cemetery?
I go past it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a hoax. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I see what you're saying.
the thing is about the Jim Thorpe games on post. We all went one year,
Mm-hmm.
but and he gets invited every year, and John Thorpe is typically there. He wasn't there last year, but in my mind, that's a feel-good thing for the U.S. Army.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a way to celebrate what happened at
Right.
the Indian School, but there and this brings to mind the conversation that I had with these Apache men who I gave a talk about the school to these people. They came and I gave them a slide presentation, which is what I do a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I kept referring to the Indian School. And finally, one of them took me aside and he said, we don't really think of this as a school. It's not a school in the way that you might have gone to school. To us, it was a place of confinement,
Uh-huh.
like Guantanamo. And, it made me think about the language, the vocabulary that we use all the time for this kind of an event in history is really inadequate. I would think there are people who really feel like it was a school where they learned academic training and trades and, were comfortable with that idea, students. But there were a lot of students who were not.
Well, the thing is, too, you look at the graduation rate, and, I think it's like 20%, something like that, who actually started and then got one of those diplomas.
Yeah,
There's not many of those diplomas around. And as a matter of fact, on my grandfather's, who graduated in 1913, okay, it has 190, and then there's a 1 crossed through the 0 and a 3 afterwards. So
Really?
they weren't printing that many of them, I can tell you that right now.
Well, that's an interesting observation.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, of the 10,700 names that we have, our statistics tell us that 758 graduated. So your dad was one of a few.
The 20%ers.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think your dad would have been comfortable talking about this as if it were a school, a bona fide school?
Oh, yes.
He would have. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Dad always thought highly of the Indian school.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
do you think he was proud, to have been a part of that
yes.
school that really...
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I've heard that. I've heard that from people, too, that, it was considered the elite of those training institutions. But your dad had kind of a unique experience in his enrollment because he must have enrolled himself, right?
Well, here's the thing. I have the application here, and I don't know if we touched on this during our first interview or not.
Okay.
But you remember me showing you this when your father applied to the school?
It was what?
What? Do you recall me telling you about this? I found the application.
Oh,
That,
there's information on that, on Dad's entrance in that folder I gave you.
Okay.
And also his grades.
You have his
Now-
grades?
he applied in February 6th of 1908,
Yeah.
and he was enrolled September 10th of 1908.
So what was
And the thing is, where do I have
He
this?
applied in 08 and then he attended in 09.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Here it is. It's right here.
All right.
There's the
Yeah, there you go.
application.
This is the one, yeah.
Yeah, that's the application for enrollment.
And another
Do
thing
you
to touch
have
on.
anything on this?
Not yet, but when Dickinson gets all of the information in their project, you'll be able to look at this. This is a copy of his application, which
Right.
Yeah.
would have come from the
Yeah.
National Archives.
Now, there's kind of a blank spot here. He was educated in Louisiana to grade 5. Now, how did he get from New York
Right.
to
This
Louisiana?
is
This is his report card. So how did he get from New York to Louisiana?
know.
That's a mystery.
That's a blank, yes. And
Yeah.
also his
Because he was a New York Oneida. It's, I think so far, I've actually started looking at this because most of the Oneidas, I think there are maybe over 300, came from Wisconsin. Maybe about 25 of them came from New York.
Mhm.
Not that many, just
Right.
a small percentage. So, we still haven't pieced together either what was happening in Wisconsin, what was happening in New
New York.
York, when that...
well, he was in the well, let's see. First of all, his father was M.K. I'm assuming that's Montreville. Okay, Yuda, Y-U-D-A. So that name was taken, at least by him, would have been my great-grandfather, and he was full Oneida. And Stella is my great-grandmother's name, which I never knew till I found this.
Okay.
And she's 3/4 Penobscot.
Right. So Penobscot, so she would have been from, probably from some community in Maine.
Right.
Where on Indian Island is where that group is now, right on the Penobscot River. And they had a lot of kids at Carlisle, too. Well, a lot. It's a very small group, so comparatively to other nations.
do you have a copy of this?
I don't know. I might actually have a copy of this. Oh, look at how the name was misspelled. And he was born in Vernon Valley
New York.
at the Indian of the Oneida tribe, located at St. Regis Agency. Now that's the Mohawk.
Yeah.
The Mohawk Res, they call it Akwesasne.
Being part of the Iroquois Nation.
Yeah,
Which
right.
Mohawk was one
that's
of them.
right. One of the 6 nations, yeah.
And basically, they just got a just got pushed and shoved wherever. You know,
Mhm.
that was.
Which is why Oneidas are in Wisconsin, New York, and Canada. There's a group in Canada. So, yeah, it says that he left the tribe about, there's a blank and it says tribe broke up, is what it says. Mother Stella Yuda, 3/4 Penobscot.
I'm always interested to know what the other quarter is, and what,
Yeah.
or maybe this could be partial fiction. Who knows? You know,
Well, and
it's an enrollment.
it could have been, that other quarter could have been Abenaki, or, it could have been another
Right.
Seneca, Mohawk, who knows?
Right.
Because it looks like she came from the St. Regis agency also. Or maybe it's because she might have been married to your grandfather. Did you ever meet your grandparents?
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah, I think I asked you if you ever went back up. Did you have relatives up in Oneida or up in that area of St. Regis?
There was one brother unaccounted for, okay, and that was Montreville's one brother. And where was this? I don't know. There we go. As of December 3rd, 1908, his father was still alive. Now, that's pretty much based on this.
Okay.
His mother was dead, and there was one living brother, but no name and no history on him whatsoever. On your father's brother.
And that would have been in 1908.
Right.
So on the 1900 census, maybe we could find your family on the 1900 census. Have you ever tried looking that
No.
up?
No.
We have Ancestry.com upstairs.
Yeah.
We could go to the 1900 census because your dad would have been born, obviously, and see what names show up in the family. We could, if you want to.
You want to do that?
That,
You want to do that? You want to look in the census for 1908?
yeah. 1908. Let me see.
Well, 1900 would be the census because they're
Right.
every 10 years.
Okay.
Yes.
We could find out who was in the family and where
Yeah.
they were living, if we're lucky. I mean, we have it upstairs.
Right.
And we can just plug it in.
Well, this all goes back to the Bureau of Indian Affairs records
Yeah.
also, and how well were
Yeah.
those records?
But, I mean, yeah, if they were up at Akwesasne, at St. Regis, I would think those records are intact.
Mhm.
I'm guessing they're intact. And, the timing is right because 1900, I think the 1890 census was burned in a fire or something. There might not be an 1890, but 1900, you're in luck. And then in 1910, if we find them, we'll see where they were in 1910 because Montreville was here in 1910. But maybe his brother...
Let me see.
How old was he when he was enrolled at Carlisle?
21.
Okay. And he had had previous schooling in Louisiana.
Yes.
And he graduated, which means he was on, he would have been totally literate. He might not even have known his language. I don't know, in 1908, were there Oneida speakers up there?
He signed in 08, and then he started in 09.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was going on from 1908 to 1909?
I don't know.
We don't know. And did he not talk about it much or what?
No.
No, he didn't really because, any information wasn't really transferred because he didn't know. He really didn't know. There's a lot of blank spots going on.
What didn't you know?
Pardon?
You didn't know he was Indian?
Your father didn't know. Oh, no. Your father didn't tell you a whole lot about his childhood.
Oh, no.
He didn't.
Wait,
he blanked that out.
But did he not tell you that he was Indian?
Oh, yes.
Okay, you knew that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He knew that, but he didn't talk about
the details of
No.
tribal living and what it was
Right.
like at St. Regis.
Well, when they visited him, that's when the talk came out.
when who visited him. The other Indian school kids that he knew.
Yes.
The young men, the men.
Yes.
Who were they? Do you remember?
I know, my mind is something else.
Oh, I know. I know how
Uh,
that goes.
Fred Cardin.
Oh.
Do you
Yeah.
remember Fred Cardin?
Yeah, I know who he was.
Well, I remember we were living on A Street, and I went to the Franklin building for school, and the time that Fred Cardin was there, my aunt was there. And he was dating my aunt, which was my mother's sister.
Lillian's.
I remember that.
Fred Cardin. He lived in Reading area. He was a musician.
So was there was another one there too.
So he did your aunt have designs on him? Did she have eyes for him?
Oh, they got along pretty good together.
Mm-hmm.
But
This is Aunt Thelma?
Aunt Thelma.
Okay, yeah, she's a bubbly one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is she still alive?
No, she died.
No, she wouldn't be.
She died in her, well, she was 100 when she died.
Wow.
Yeah, she was in the home up there at
Newville.
Newville. Yeah. Yeah.
Up at Green Ridge?
Yes.
Oh, that's so nice up there. Yeah. So she spent some time with Fred Cardin, and you remember him coming to your house?
Oh yeah.
And did you know he was a really good musician?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Oh yes.
I think he was Lakota, Fred Cardin.
Fred Cardin.
I think. I'd have to look it up. But his sons or grandsons have visited here.
Oh.
Yeah. So he stayed in the central Pennsylvania area,
Yeah.
like your dad.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that they, had a relationship. Yeah. And he was very hard of hearing in his old age, Fred Cardin.
Yeah.
But we have an oral history that was done with him.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fred Cardin.
So he must have been pretty old, when they talked to him and interviewed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and somebody else. I can't remember who the other person was.
Oh.
Who
yeah,
stayed
he was,
around
He
here.
was a musician too.
He taught music.
Yeah.
In somewhere in Lancaster County or Reading. Lebanon, maybe.
Lebanon.
Okay.
I remember they gave a concert, and we went to that.
Oh.
We went to that concert they had.
Where was the concert?
Huh?
Where was the concert?
I don't remember where it was, Tim. Must have been Lebanon.
Did he drive the Studebaker?
Yeah, yeah. I think there's information about that, I think, in that folder I gave you.
Okay. Yeah, I should look through this some more too. Yeah, this number 555. See how that shows up on everything? This is from his NARA folder. This is what will be online.
Okay.
So it looks to me like you might already have everything. But yeah, I'd have to look at Fred Cardin's at his folder too to see when he was at the school. So, yeah. This is old newspaper.
Do you have copies of all this?
Yeah, I think
You
we
do.
do somewhere. I don't know about this. There's a poem here.
Pardon?
There's a poem here. It says, author unknown. A letter from a father to his son in service.
Yes, I remember that.
Was that in with your dad's things?
But there's no date on it.
No, and no author. Yeah. So, you remember Fred. Was Pete Kalak one of your dad's friends? Did he ever come back here? Pete Kalak, does that name mean anything to you? Pete Kalak. Kalak. He was one of the football players. Kalak.
The last name
Kalak.
sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, he would have been one of Jim Thorpe and your dad's part. He would have been part of that group of guys that would have hung out together and gone to the store, Wardecker's store, Blumenthal's. It was. Yeah. Yeah, so your dad didn't talk about it much, and we keep saying that.
So nothing got transferred down.
And I
obviously.
find that's really typical of the Carlisle student experience.
Well, they erased their whole past.
Yeah.
Or at least they made an attempt. Just the before and after pictures.
Right.
Are really.
Yeah. So, your dad he graduated
1913.
1913, but he was, 1913, that was that year that all that trouble, there was all that trouble at the school. Have you read the Senate investigation?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I have.
You have it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I have that online.
And the inspector that came up and gave that report.
Oh, yeah. Trying to frame them, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that.
Yeah.
But you don't remember him talking about it.
No, he never talked too much about that.
Nothing about his visit to D.C. or for that congressional.
No.
I mean, he was pretty bold,
Yes, he was.
your dad.
He what?
He was bold.
Oh, yes. Well, I understand that the student body elected him to go there.
Okay.
But
Him and Gus Welch, he was involved in that too.
Yes.
The quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah, Gus Welch was the instigator.
Mm-hmm.
He started a petitioning campaign in the YMCA to look at the conditions of the school because he felt that the conditions were deteriorating because of sports.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And so your dad was the person who actually carried those petitions down to the Senate.
Yeah.
And got the ball rolling. I mean, that was a pretty bold move to make. And he was not getting a lot of support from the school.
Right.
Yeah. I know when he finished school, he planned on going to law school. I even have his law books
Wow.
that he bought. And instead of going to law school, he married my mother.
He eloped with your mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're.
So that was the end of the law school. But I still have his books.
Wow. You do use law books.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, do you need any of those?
I would like to make sure that I have copies of everything from here.
Well, do you
Before
want to
you
keep that
leave.
to check and see
then
what you
I
have?
can drop it off to you later today.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Oh, whenever you're
Well,
through.
and then if you, when you're done, when we're done here, you might be too tired to go through the census. Maybe I'll go look in the
Okay.
census when you guys leave here,
Okay.
and see if I can find anything to print up that we can bring over. Bring over to him.
There's,
We would deliver that to you.
There's a lot of correspondence between Dad and the school
There is.
when he was working at the shipyard,
Mm-hmm.
and they would send him.
Workers. Actually, from the school.
They'd send him students that were already graduated, and Dad was foreman.
We should have brought that picture, about one picture with us, that you have framed.
I
It's
don't
a
know. I
picture
think
at the.
there's some information in there on.
I'm
on-
just
on
open to
that.
it. Yeah. Did he talk about that? What is the Queller affair? Do you know?
Not too much, but when the people came in to visit him, that's when all that came out. They'd sit down and talk about that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So they wanted to get his take on what had happened,
Yeah.
and those are the guys. That's what you remember as a child,
Yeah.
hearing them talk about this. Boy, this is really interesting.
Then he would correspond with the people there and government.
Well, he was recruiting students who had already finished their course
Right.
at Carlisle. So what he was doing, in effect, was finding work
Yeah.
for people around the time of World War I.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was all in the shipyards.
Yes, and he has a nice picture with my grandfather in the middle with the vest and bow tie, and then the Indians on either side. Okay.
Yeah, I think that picture might be online. I think I've seen that
Have you?
picture. Yeah, it's real clean, real clear picture.
Mhm.
Right, and they're kind of all posed.
Right.
Maybe there are 20 of them, I would say.
Possibly,
Maybe 15, maybe 12 to 20.
Yeah.
And I think Andrew Queller is one of the people in that picture, too. That's why that name jumped out at me.
Yeah.
Because he also was a Carlisle student. So all of those guys would be Carlisle students,
Yes.
former students.
Yeah.
So what he was doing, in effect, was continuing the what was begun at Carlisle. So how could he have been persona non grata? You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
When what he was doing was so
Well, positive. Obviously.
positive, yeah, and helpful, because the whole dilemma of this experiment was that these kids would come out of the school and they couldn't find work because they still looked like Indians.
Right. Well,
I mean,
the
they
whole
were,
idea was to be assimilated into
Totally.
the American society.
and they were qualified.
Right.
They were qualified to do
Yeah.
all kinds of jobs, but the opportunity wasn't there, so they went back home to the reservations. But your dad didn't. He, do you think that his connection to Lillian might have been a big part of why he stayed here?
Could be. Could be.
Well, Maslin's was one of the things. You see, when he was in Philadelphia, Maslin's carpets originated in Philadelphia.
Oh.
And you see, he moved back to Carlisle. Well, obviously there was roots on his wife's side.
Mm-hmm.
His son was in Carlisle,
Mm-hmm.
and but Maslin's obviously. Well, that's where he worked for. How long did your father work for Maslin's? 30 years.
Oh my.
He was a foreman.
Right.
Yeah.
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 But that's how the Maslin connection fits in from Philadelphia.
Really?
Yes.
So did Maslin? How new was the plant here? Was it fairly new when your dad started working
It
here?
was brand new.
It
I
was?
would take, yeah, because they moved the factory from, this is from what I get from
Wow.
sources, but they moved from Philadelphia to Carlisle.
So do you think your dad might have had some influence in that?
Oh, I don't have a.
Yeah, how would you know?
There's so many blanks.
He wouldn't have
you know,
talked
you don't
about
know.
it. Right, right, right. How interesting.
But he always wore that bow tie.
He just,
When he worked
what?
at Maslin's, too, he always wore his vest and bow tie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's a beautiful tie clip that you have. That looks very traditional.
Oh. Yes,
And the vest.
yeah.
Was your dad a dapper dresser like you?
Well, I think he was.
Yeah.
Somewhat, yes.
There.
Oh, yeah.
Bow tie.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. The bow tie right there, your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in these newspaper articles that I found, they're all about his debating. He was a member of the debating club. So, you know, he obviously could get up in front of an audience. And
law school would have been a natural,
yeah,
obviously.
he would. I can see why that might be an appeal. Yeah. And he was right here, you know, in where
Yeah.
Dickinson School of Law is. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Pop was he was a talker,
Yeah?
yes. But when the subject came up about the Indian School, that's when he got involved.
And talk.
He would like to talk about the
Okay.
Indian School.
Hmm.
And in his correspondence with the school, he said, send him some students that were really qualified,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And he didn't want anyone that would bring shame to the school.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was important to him.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
See, even though he had, you know, some problems as far as the downslide of the school itself, he was still proud, you know,
Yeah.
proud of being
He
a
talked
graduate.
with-
Well, maybe that's why he was so.
Said when Thorpe would stop by, he asked for money.
He did.
Yeah. Very depressed. And Pop would bring out a bottle of liquor whenever he came there.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a chit-chat.
Was it usually just the two of them, from what you could remember, or were there usually other
just,
guys
just
around?
the two of them.
Yeah, and he didn't bring his wife. Thorpe didn't. You know, Thorpe had several wives.
No, he just came himself.
Well, one time, didn't he stop on his way to New York to give a speech?
That's the time.
That's the time you took off school.
Well, yeah, I was
Or you-
home for some reason. I don't know what happened, but I happened to be home there when he stopped.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you?
Pardon?
How old were you?
Oh, let me see. I think I was around 10 then.
Okay, so he stopped. He just stopped on his way.
He stopped on his way through.
Was he driving his own car?
Yes. And then there were some people there that I don't remember what their names,
Mm-hmm.
but they had me dress up in the costume that they had there.
This one right here. In
That's
this
the one.
costume.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And you were really cold. They made you stand outside in the cold so they could take your picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's also some pictures somewhere. It may even be in there with other folks.
I think they're in
yes.
that scrapbook too.
Yeah,
I think we did have.
Well, the scrapbooks
those.
that you now have that he donated.
Yes.
That was our education as far as the Indian School was concerned when we were kids.
Sure.
Because, he didn't have a whole lot to relate as far as his father's experience.
Yeah.
So we learned through, and obviously we were drawn to the football team pictures.
Sure. Sure. And Thorpe.
Right.
Such a famous person coming to your house. I mean, did you have that sense when you were 10? So that would have been would that have been in the 30s? Were you born?
Yeah, 35.
You were born in
Post-
25.
End of the Depression.
24.
You were born in 24.
25 of December. Oh, no,
That's Christmas.
that's Christmas.
No, you were born in 1925.
1924.
Oh, okay. You know better than I.
Yeah, 24.
Yeah.
January the 25th, 1924.
There we go.
Okay, so in 1934, Jim Thorpe was, how old would he have been? He would have been in his maybe 50s or 40s, maybe his 40s. Because, he would have been probably fairly young.
Yeah.
And his football career was still going, right? I mean, he was still playing football then, I think. Or at least he was associated with football through
But
Canton.
he never graduated.
No, he didn't graduate.
Never graduated.
No, but, in those days, not that many people really did graduate from schools, not just Indian schools.
No, but high school, people left school and elementary school.
My father-in-law never graduated from high school.
Yeah.
And he would have been about that age.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that typical. So there were a lot of different opportunities.
But he was very depressed person.
He was.
Very depressed.
Mm.
And that led to drinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Divorce.
Yes. Yes. Now, what's the story on the burial of Thorpe? I thought they had that fixed up, but I understand it's still ongoing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are people in the family that want him to be repatriated to Oklahoma, which is where he was buried originally.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, do you have any strong feelings about that?
Well, apparently the son that started this died.
Jack.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know. There's disagreement between the family, and I don't know what all happened, but
yeah, there are still people in the family that are advocating that he be repatriated.
Yeah.
And then there are some members of the family who feel like he needs to be where he is. And I don't know John. I know Mike Kohler, who's one of the grandsons, and I'm not sure what his position is. So it's a family issue.
Well, John
really.
is the one that was out at the War College, and he was a nice person. But John was he was for him staying at
Malt Chunk.
yes.
He was.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason for that was that he wait a minute. The governor did not show any sympathy for him, and I think that's the reason why he wanted him to stay at Mulchunk.
Okay. The governor of Oklahoma is that who you're talking about?
Yeah,
Was not advocating for his
no.
removal.
But then there was disagreement, I guess, between the family members. And,
Yeah, there was. I
Yeah.
think there was. But Grace, who was, the one who really wanted him to stay, and Jim Thorpe,
Yeah. Well,
she's gone.
She was the one that arranged that, did she?
No, I think it was his wife, Patsy.
His wife.
Yeah. His last
Was his third wife.
Yeah.
Well, how many times was he married?
3 times.
3 times.
Yeah. He had 3 children to his first wife. I believe. He had a son first who passed away. Do you ever see that movie that comes on the History Channel late at night? Jim Thorpe, All-American, with Burt Lancaster.
I didn't. I was in school then. I didn't.
Oh, no, it's on now all the time.
Oh, it's on now.
Yeah, do you have cable TV?
Yes,
Yeah.
You do? Yeah, next time it's on, we'll have to let
him
Tim
know
know,
when
and
it's- yeah, let
and
me
he
know.
can make sure that you watch it.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, you might enjoy it. I think you might enjoy it. It's really a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Jim Thorpe was a consultant for the movie.
Yeah.
He wasn't in it, and it was about his life, and Burt Lancaster played Jim Thorpe.
I remember that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you might have seen it. I don't know why I brought that up, but
Huh.
that's how I know a little bit about who the families were, you
Yeah.
know, from that movie. But there were 4 boys born to his second wife, and there were, I think, maybe 3 girls born to the first wife. And then Patsy, the third wife, had no children with him.
Well, that mixes things up.
It does. It really does. He was part of the modern family structure way back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, he didn't have a job.
He didn't when
And,
he came through to visit you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was kind of a guy who was in between jobs a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that might be why you recollect him not being a happy person. And then the drinking, that's always, an issue. That's kind of part of the legacy
Yeah.
of the whole boarding school movement. So,
I know whenever he came in, Pop reached, put the bottle on the table,
yeah.
and they both imbibed there a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So, did that make him happier? I mean,
Oh,
in
yeah.
your recollection?
Temporarily.
Oh,
Yeah, right, temporarily. So
Yeah.
did he stay at your house? Would he stay over and
No,
spend
he
the
was
night?
on his way.
He was always on the way
Yeah.
somewhere. Did your mom enjoy his company?
She wasn't. She didn't take part in any of that.
No. Okay.
I guess they didn't want her in there anyway.
Well, she was pretty much a teetotaler, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, when they had the store there in the in Gloucester Lane,
Garrison.
Garrison Lane. She played the piano, and the boys would bring their instruments in the evening, and they'd have jam sessions there at the store.
Really? What kind of music did they play?
I don't know, but they were jamming.
Really?
Yeah.
Wonder what they liked.
I don't know what was in then.
Yeah,
Well,
what was it?
but I'm sure there was some sort of formal music training at the
Yeah.
school.
Oh, there was. That's why I'm curious.
I would think that would be pretty much classical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, or it could have been like popular music,
Could have been,
of the
yes.
time. But classical, definitely.
Mhm.
Because I think, and your dad, according to these newspaper articles, he sang. Montreville Yuda, member of the Standard Literary Society, was a guest at the Mercer Literary Society last Friday and rendered a vocal solo, which was greatly enjoyed by all present.
Yeah.
So did he sing? Did he sing around you?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, and it's really odd since he was somewhat artsy. You know, he
yeah.
was in the
He was
thespian
in.
group. And,
That's
and such.
right. He was.
And when his father came to him when he was getting out of graduating high school, was this and
Pardon?
your father when you graduated from high school, your father asked you what you were going to do.
Oh, yeah.
Or what your plans were and
Yeah.
all. And he wanted to, now he was quite a musician himself.
Oh.
Band, orchestra in high school, and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And he said his reply to his father was he wanted to play his horn. He played cornet and trumpet. And my grandfather said, George, you're going to Dickinson. Right?
Well,
something along those lines. Right?
Pop
Yeah.
told me, he asked me, George, what are you going to do when you finish high school? I said, well, I'll probably get a job maybe. Well, he said, I know what you're going to do. I said, what's that? He said, you're going to Dickinson. Oh, I said, I don't want any part of that.
Really?
Pop says, I know what you're going to do. He was strict.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember we went up to Dickinson to sign in.
Yeah.
That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
But he kept playing his horn.
You did.
Yeah.
Where did you play in a band?
He was in a lot of bands around town.
Were you? Did you
Oh.
ever play any jazz music?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
Pardon?
Did you play jazz music?
Oh, yeah.
Like Dixieland jazz music?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
Dorsey's.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Now, there's still a couple people around who were in some of his bands.
Yeah.
there are?
Oh, yeah.
Who are they?
Jerry Lackey, for one.
Jerry Lackey.
Yeah,
Jerry Lackey?
Jerry's kicking.
No
Well,
way.
he played in the Route 66 episodes in Carlisle. He was in two different segments of, not him, Jerry.
Lackey.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Tom Landis.
Tom Landis.
Tom Landis, yeah.
Get out. What
Tom-
did he play? What does he play?
Tom played alto sax.
Oh.
His brother played alto sax.
Uh-huh. Dick Landis?
No.
No?
It's Jerry Lackey's.
Oh, Jerry Lackey's brother. Okay. So you had a little band, like a quartet or something.
Oh,
Oh,
we
they-
had,
No, you got to.
Big band?
No. Oh, well, he was in so many different bands. You know how bands
Yeah,
are when
yeah,
you're
yeah.
younger and, some
Uh-huh.
break up.
yeah.
There was the Rev. He was a Dickinson student. He was on the Ivories.
The
Yeah.
Rev,
The Rev, yeah.
like he became a pastor.
Yeah.
Who was he?
Well, he was from Jersey,
Yeah.
but he was a hell of a nice person.
Even though he was from
He
Jersey.
would play the piano with his drink up on the top of the piano,
So-
you know?
Yeah, so what kind of pastor was he?
Well, I never saw him after
Oh,
that.
he didn't.
Tell him
okay.
about Bill Palmer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bill Palmer. He was our drummer.
Okay.
Now, this is in racial areas,
Go right ahead.
He was our drummer, and I know he was a black man.
Yeah. Is he still alive?
No, he's
No,
Oh.
Bill passed away.
Okay.
I know we used to play over at Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of the joint that we played at, but I remember it was the next day was Mother's Day, and they said, "Now we want the award, the oldest mother." So Bill, he stands up.
Oh my gosh. When would this have been? What year? I mean,
Oh, that was, I was still in Dickinson then.
Well, mid-40s, late 40s.
right, because you
Yeah.
would have been about, what,
Yeah.
maybe 20,
Post-World
19?
War II.
Something like that.
Oh, wow. So what do you remember any of the music that you played?
All the,
Did you play ragtime?
And dance music,
Yeah.
and
Swing music.
we played all the new pieces that were coming out.
Yeah.
We got those.
Do you listen to the music, to that kind of music now?
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Do
But,
you?
As a matter of fact, they cut some records
Yeah.
Really?
out in Mount Holly Recording Studio.
Get out.
Now,
Yeah.
do you know Dick Ely by chance? Not Dick Ely, but oh God, what's his name? What's his first name? Anyway, he has a swing set and you know, outside school swings. He has a company like
Oh.
that. But his father had this studio in Mount Holly, and they cut 78s. And I have no idea what happened to them, but you know, they're about the thickness of a pancake.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And Jumping at the Fireside, I remember was one of the songs on that record. Remember those
Yeah.
old 78s?
Yeah.
And you get on there for a trumpet solo and someone yells, "Go George, go!"
Well, where are those records? Are they around? Do you have them?
I think we do have
You
some.
must
I
have
don't
'em.
know where they
Oh,
are,
you-
but they're, I mean, they're plates.
Oh, my dad loved Dixieland music, and when we buried when we buried him, we
I
had
did too.
we had a Dixieland band come
Yeah.
and for the mass, and Father let us do that for them at the end of the mass. They did, you know, they had them going out to when
Yeah.
the saints go marching in. It was so awesome.
Yeah,
But
we-
I never really liked that music growing up because my dad played it all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just was not my rock and roll music that I liked. But now I love it. I listen to it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's hard to find.
Well, he has some really. I should probably give you
You know,
his
those-
CDs.
Those records that girl left,
Yes.
she's got a lot of those. Tommy Dorsey, Jimmy Dorsey.
Yeah.
Jimmy
Lunsford. Do you know that name? Lunsford. Jimmy Lunsford.
Lunsford.
Yeah,
Yes.
he has that.
They were-
Firehouse 5+2.
They were the old records.
Yeah.
Oh boy, they were great.
Well, that was good music.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Well, it's been an hour. I don't want to tax you or tire you out
No,
too
that's
much.
all right.
But, you know,
That's all right.
we could do this again if you're willing.
That's fun.
Pardon?
I said we could do this again if you're willing.
Well,
If it's not too much trouble
no,
to
no.
drag you out.
No.
I want to go and look in that 1900 census to see if I can find any Yudas.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to borrow this and make sure that I have copies of everything in here.
I have.
And then I'll drop it off to you.
Okay.
I have so many.
When's a good time to come? I mean, are
In
you...
the morning when my sister's there.
Okay,
You know,
are
say
you...
prior to noon?
Yeah, is he by himself in the afternoon?
Yes.
Okay. That's great.
And he just lost his dog.
Oh, I'm so
yes,
just about,
sorry.
what, 3
My
weeks
best
now?
friend.
Oh, man.
So we're trying to get him out. He's moving around more.
Yeah, that, you know, we just got it. We just adopted a dog. We lost our dog a couple years ago.
What kind of a dog did you
A
get?
mutt. It's a rat terrier,
Oh.
miniature rat terrier
Oh.
Doberman Pinscher. The one we just got is completely opposite of the dog we had.
Oh.
But my husband said, "See, dogs really make us nicer. We're nicer people for it." But I mean, we just mourn that dog for so.
Yeah.
I still see her sometimes out of the corner of my eye. I'll be walking through a room and I'll see her, and she was just our.
Well, you know, you get so attached to them.
You
Boy.
do. I know it, and there's like a hole there now.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of lonesome.
It is. And it like he said, it gets you up and down. You have to, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's good exercise. So, well, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm so sorry. What was your dog's name?
Booker.
Booker. Booger?
Booker.
Booker.
That's Booker T. Washington.
I'd
Oh,
call
wow.
him Book. He'd respond to that.
And what kind of dog was he?
Pardon?
What kind of dog was he?
A golden retriever.
Oh, yeah.
He's had a
Oh,
series of golden retrievers.
Because you're a hunter.
Well,
Or you were a hunter.
when we got him, we never took him out to hunt. He was at home in the big yard, and he didn't have to go out.
You know what? I met him. I remember him.
You remember him?
I remember
Oh, that's
him.
right. You were out
Yeah, I
there.
was at your house a couple of times. Yeah. Yeah, I remember him. He was a beautiful dog. Big.
Well, I've got a lot of Dad's correspondence out there yet.
Do you?
Yes, with the schools and with the superintendent.
Okay.
And maybe you'd like to look through those.
Sure. I'd love to.
Well,
I'd love to.
I'll bring those in.
If you're willing to come in and do this again
Yes,
and look at that with me, that would be,
I'll bring
if
them
you're
in.
comfortable with other people knowing about it, you know.
Yes.
Oh, well, here's nothing that you have
Right.
nothing to hide
No.
at this point.
No.
I have quite a few. Well, Jeffy got a lot of those from the. Where did he get those from?
I'm not sure.
Maybe from the National Archives. Were they all from his time at this? What were they all from when the school was still in existence, before 1918?
Yes, because Dad was still corresponding. I'll bring those in.
Yeah, I'd like to copy them if I can.
Oh, yeah.
Unless we already have them, you know, we have to look and see.
You can copy those if you want.
Yeah, I want.
to.
Well, I want to just make sure we have copies. We might have copies of some of this.
Yes, some of them are in there.
Yeah.
I'll have to go through what I have. What may not be important to me may be important for you.
Or someone.
Yes.
Maybe not, you know.
Yes.
Because we, especially with this project that Dickinson is doing, it's really opening up doors because more people are finding out about the school. And people who might have been quiet about it, their kids are starting to talk about it. They want to know more.
Right.
So,
It's
you know.
too bad, though, the people who are no longer with us are the ones who kind of really knew.
Yeah.
You know.
I know, but it says a lot also that they didn't talk about it.
Right. Oh, definitely so. And
Yeah.
particularly my grandfather.
Right. Because
sure.
he was one of the star students.
Right. And, well, the thing is, I never met the man. He died the same year I was born.
Yeah.
And if he would have lived on, I would have been, well,
And was your grandma alive then?
she was, yes.
How long did she live after he passed?
Your mother died in what year?
83.
Okay, so 35. She lived 35 years.
Yeah.
After
So
him.
did she have stories? I
No.
mean, she didn't.
No.
No.
Your mother never had many stories about the school or the Indian school
No.
or times on Garrison Lane at the store.
No, she baked pies. She helped her mother bake pies.
I think I've seen something about those pies.
Harry Flickinger would have been the one who would have known a lot. Harry would have
Uncle
known.
Harry.
He would have known a lot.
There might be an oral history with
Harry Flickinger.
somebody, either Harry or your grandma.
That's
I
my
think
mother's
it's probably
brother.
Harry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Called him Hen.
Have you ever seen it? The
Uh,
oral history that we haven't.
I may have seen part of it. I'm not
Okay.
sure where along the line.
You should have.
But
a
he was an oldster.
Okay.
Oh yeah, but he would have known what was going on at the store, and I think somewhere along the line that's how I found out that Gus Welch used to drink cream and eat pies in the store's kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
not Gus
Is
Welch,
the-
but who's the coach?
Pop Warner.
Pop Warner.
Well, when
That's how Pop got
really
pie and cream. Right? Pop Warner eating pie at the store.
Yeah.
Is the building still there?
I don't think so, no.
It's on Garrison. It was on Garrison Lane, like
Yes.
by where the Sentinel building is.
Yeah, and you
go-
could just walk right into the post.
Yeah, but you
you know.
can't anymore.
Oh,
They've got
no.
it all.
Oh yeah,
But you could, and you could still after
Yeah.
we were alive.
sure,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, because they still had that entrance there. So when did the store when your mom and dad got married? Did her family own the store?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did they keep the store going?
For some time, but then they gave it up.
They did. Did you or
Well-
did your dad?
You see, what happened, they had, when the Indian school closed,
Business
wouldn't-
went away.
they wouldn't have any business.
Yeah, right. Because that was the main attraction.
That was,
Well, now when your dad visited the store, would he be alone? I mean, was he able to come out and visit the store when he was a student
well,
at
he
the
usually
school?
brought
I mean,
fellows,
those guys,
fellows with him.
so they were able to come and go without chaperones?
Apparently so.
That my sense is that after the school, after the Pratt years, it was a little more relaxed, and so especially during the sports years and during that era, 1913. That was when your dad was there.
Probably the class you were in had something to do with it.
Yeah,
Of course,
and
if
if you
you're
were in
just there, you're not going to be allowed
Right.
out.
And if
obviously.
you're an athlete too,
Right.
and
We
your
have,
dad was a musician.
we have a lot of information on the graduation.
You do.
Our graduations only lasted for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Their graduation lasted for a whole week.
Yeah, you can see that from the newspapers.
Yeah.
There were all kinds of activities,
they had,
events, sports events.
People from all over coming in.
Yes, they did. Yes.
Yeah.
Dignitaries, visiting dignitaries.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Frederick Douglass visited.
Did he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think. Let me see.
I don't want to tire you out too much.
He's okay.
You can put us.
He'll have a nap this afternoon.
Okay, great. Do you have a copy of the newspaper from 1913 when he graduated? Do you have that edition of the school newspaper?
No.
Oh, I think you might like that. We should
Well,
have. We probably have that.
Just glance through that.
Flickinger's store on Garrison Lane. Yeah. It was a shortcut to the school, you say?
Yes, it
Yeah.
was a shortcut.
So even though they had that new entrance over on Pratt Avenue,
The main entrance.
From
or the quote,
Yeah.
quote,
Route
the old,
11.
from the sunny side.
right.
Yeah.
But it was still a shortcut.
From
if
the
you're
sunny
going
side.
down. From if you were in town,
You could
obviously it was a
still,
shortcut.
and also that's where the train came through. So
On High Street.
on High Street, but where the tracks are now back there.
Mm-hmm.
Those train tracks were there during the Indian School years, right? You know the train tracks that you cross
Oh, yes, they come right down
You
through
come
the
up-
center of the town.
and you come up Garrison Lane and the train tracks are there,
Yeah,
right? And they were there during the Indian School years.
yeah.
So if kids ran away, that's how they ran away.
Hopped on the
They
train
hopped
right
on
there.
the train.
Yeah.
So they would have always known when the trains were coming through.
Well, definitely.
But that must have been dangerous, that store.
It was. They usually had a wreck every Saturday night.
Really? With
Yes.
a car, you mean?
With what?
With a car and a train?
Yes.
Now, are you talking about when the tracks were on High Street?
Yeah.
See, they used to run east-west on High.
I know, but didn't they come around behind the school there or no? They came straight down high?
Straight down High
They
Street,
co-
yes.
they
All the
come-
way down, okay.
But then
Yeah.
then there was a trolley that went from the square to Holly, and I
Right.
don't know if that extended
that
north or
that
not.
came right up to the school, right up Pratt Avenue, across the
The trolley.
Lee Tort
Uh-huh.
and the race. You
Right,
know,
yeah.
Uh-huh.
the two, and right up in through the gates where those, because we have pictures, and that road was wide.
Mhm.
The trolley came right up there.
There at East Street, the trucks veered left.
In front of the school?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Okay. East Street.
That would be where the old Schaefer Brothers Auto Parts would be,
Yeah,
right at that
okay.
crossing there.
Okay. The trolley tracks or the train?
Train.
Train.
That's-
Oh, wow. Okay. So they went High Street and then they came around. And the tracks that are behind the Indian School,
Yes, I think that's right.
was that the South Mountain Railroad tracks maybe? Because there was the Gettysburg Junction, that little, you know where S-Step Electric is?
Mhm.
E-Step, is that how you say it?
East Step, yes.
The what?
You know where the electric
The East Step
Oh,
Electric.
yeah.
That was the train station. That was the junction station for Gettysburg, for the train that goes to South Mountain.
And that was so close to,
Yeah, that's where the first
Garrison
kids
Lane.
came in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because Pratt tried to sneak them in the middle of the night,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't want them to come into the main
And our
train.
dad used to park there on High Street. And at 9 o'clock in the evening is when the one train would come in, the milk train.
Mhm.
They call it, they pick up the milk. Yeah.
And so, did he get deliveries from the train in the store? Did your grandpa get deliveries that way, or probably not? Because the train wouldn't have. That junction.
They
would,
took on mail and they took
Okay.
on milk.
So your mother had 4 siblings. Yeah. 3 boys and 2 girls. She was one of 3 boys and 2 girls.
Uh,
Was that
There were-
a family? Was her family very sort of welcoming of your dad? I mean, was he part of this big family right away?
yes, to a certain extent.
Uh huh. Okay.
Well, the father-in-law
there
wasn't.
might be
well,
some
that's
story
yeah,
there.
yeah.
That might be a continuation.
George Flickinger didn't approve.
No, yeah, that's
why
right.
they. That's
That's
why
right.
they eloped.
Yeah. Well,
And
that
then what happened, my granddad came to live with us then.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Isn't that funny how things turn around? Yeah. Families. I want to look through this. Can I make a copy of this also?
Sure.
Do you mind? It looks like these are your notes.
Pardon?
These are your notes. Oh, yeah. This is your history. I don't have a copy of this. This I want to make a copy of. This, I might learn something from this.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to do this right now before you leave, so you can take this with you.
Oh, you don't have
Because I
to
don't
do
want to
that.
have it. I don't want the responsibility.
Huh?
I don't want the responsibility of having it.
Oh, you can take your time and go through it.
Yeah, it looks really interesting. I'll bring it back to you today. Well, tomorrow.
You don't have
in
to
the
do
morning.
Whatever, just
When you're-
give me
when
a
you're-
call or
All right.
give him a call and just let me
Yeah,
know.
when you're.
We can come
Okay.
in. I can come in and pick it up
Yeah,
or
well,
whatever.
I'd love for him to come back again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe, see if we can do a little more remembering.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.